Okay, we're live. So, what is going on, everybody? Um, this should be live. Yeah, I think this is live. I'm going to go ahead and assume that it's live, and assume that all of the video stuff is working pretty well. You guys can feel free to jump in here and have a conversation. I am just going to be reading a book. I've been really, if you follow my channel, you know I've been definitely in the last couple weeks struggling for content ideas. I know I say that a lot. I know that's like probably the worst thing to hear from somebody that you like to watch on YouTube. But yeah, I've just been I've been busy. And most of the content that I make on YouTube, at least recently, has been about smoking weed. And I kind of run out of things to talk about. You know, it's like, it's healthy to make progress. I think I just really struggle to view myself as a channel that like talks about one thing over and over again. And really, I began that journey mostly to document my own process. And so I will absolutely continue to do that. I will absolutely continue to make videos. I've just felt like I don't want to, like, I'm not an expert, right? I'm just a guy who is like, I'm smoking weed a lot and I want to stop. I want to improve my life in these various ways. And so my channel and my ethos and my brand and damn near everything I've ever done, what's going on, Zeorax on Twitch, everything I've ever done has been on the internet, has been mostly through the lens of content ideas. Recently, I was like, okay, well, one of the things that I consistently get great feedback on is probably be of benefit to me to record more stuff where I'm speaking and like reading, especially. So Seneca, I've always, whatchamacallit, I don't know, controversial, or there's some, I don't know what you call it, there's some push-pull on the validity or the effectiveness of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, but that was one of those books that really launched me into self-development. And I've heard a lot of great things about Letters by Seneca. I just want to go ahead and read it. And so this book is in the public domain. This book is, you can find this book all over the internet. I'm sure there's many audio versions already right now. But I figured it would be really cool to have this on my channel. So this is, again, this book is in the public domain. Letters by Seneca is a classic Stoic book. This is a text that was, from what I understand, and I'm no expert, but this was a text that was written by Seneca to a friend of his named Lucilius in Italy around 60 AD. I believe from 62 to 65 AD is when Seneca wrote these letters. And while they're positioned to be, they're positioned as a correspondence between Seneca and his friend Lucilius, really these letters, again, from what I understand, were meant for a wider public audience, and so they are written from that perspective. And these are letters to introduce Seneca's friend Lucilius to Stoicism. These are letters to provide advice for various personal struggles, be they internal, be they external. And there are things that we can all use to benefit ourselves in this life. So without further ado, this is Letters by Seneca. So letter number 2. Judging from what you tell me and from what I hear, I feel that you show great promise. You do not tear from place to place and unsettle yourself with one move after another. Relentlessness of that sort is symptomatic of a sick mind. Nothing, to my way of thinking, is better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company. Be careful, however, that there is no element of discursiveness and desultoriousness. Okay. About this reading you refer to, this reading of many different authors and books of every description. You should be exceeding your stay among writers whose genius is unquestionable, deriving constant nourishment from them if you wish to gain anything from your reading that you will find a lasting place in your mind. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. People who spend their whole life traveling abroad end up having plenty of places where they can find hospitality, but no real friendships. The same must needs be the case with people who never set about acquiring an intimate acquaintanceship with any one great writer, but skip from one to another, paying flying visits to all of them. Food that is vomited up as soon as it is eaten is not assimilated into the body and does not do one any good. Nothing hinders a cure so if it is being made the subject of experiments with different ointments. A plant which is frequently moved never grows strong. Nothing is so useful that cannot be of service in mere passing. A multitude of books only gets in one's way. So if you are unable to read all of the books in your possession, you have enough when you have all of the books you are able to read. And if you say, "But I feel like opening different books at different times," my answer will be this. Tasting one dish after another is a sign of a fussy stomach, and where foods are dissimilar and diverse in range, they lead to the contamination of the system, not nutrition. So always read well-tried authors. And if any moment you find yourself wanting to change from a particular author, go back to the ones that you have read before. Every day, too. Acquire something which will help you to face poverty or death and other ill wills as well. After running over a lot of different thoughts, pick out one to be digested thoroughly that day. This is what I do myself. Out of the many bits I have been reading, I lay hold of one. My thoughts of today is something of which I found an Epicurus. Yes, I actually make a practice of going over to the enemy's camp by way of reconnaissance, not as a deserter. A cheerful poverty, he says, is an honorable state. But if it is cheerful, it is not poverty at all. It is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the one who hankers after more. What difference does it make how much there is laid away if a man is safe in his barns, how many head of stock he grazes, or how much capital he puts out at interest, if he always is after another one's, and only counts what he has yet to gain, never what he already has? You ask yourself, what is a proper limit to a person's wealth? First, having what is essential, and second, having what is enough. Number 2, letter number 3, there was no letter number 1. Letter number 3. You have sent me a letter by the hand of a friend of yours, as you call him, and in the next sentence you were not even in the habit of doing so. You denied this in the same letter. Now, if you were referring to that word in some kind of popular sense and not according to its strict meaning, and calling him a friend in much of the same way we refer to candidates as gentlemen, his name slips our memory, we can let this pass. But if you are looking on anyone as a friend when you do not trust him and as you trust yourself, you are making a grave mistake, and you have failed to grasp sufficiently the full force of true friendship. Certainly, you should not discuss anything with a friend. Certainly, you should discuss everything with a friend, but before you do, discuss in your mind the man himself. After friendship is formed, you must trust, but before that, you must judge. Those people who contrary to Theophratus' advice, judge a man after they have made him their friend instead of the other way around, certainly put the cart before the horse. Admit a given person to your friendship. But when you have decided to do so, welcome him heart and soul, and speak as unreservedly in such a way that there is nothing matters do arise on which convention decrees silence. The things you should share with your friend are all the worries and all deliberations. Some men's fear of being deceived has taught people to deceive them. Why should I keep my back when I am with a friend? Why should I imagine I am alone when I am in his company? There are certain people who be confided in friends, unburdening themselves of whatever is on their minds into any ear they please. Others again are shy of confiding in their closest friends, and would not even keep themselves, if they could help it, into the secrets they keep hidden down inside themselves. We should do neither. Trusting everyone is as much as a worthier, and the second the safer behavior. The first is the worthier, and the second is the safer behavior. Similarly, people who the former is as much as the latter, for a delight in bursting about is not industry. It is only the restless of energy, of a hunted mind, and the state of a mind that looks on all activity as tiresome is not true repose, but a spineless inertia. This prompts me to memorize something which I came across in Pomponius. Some men have shrunk so far into dark corners that objects in bright daylight seem quite blurred to them. A balanced combination of the two attributes is what we want. As repose should be capable of action. Ask nature; she will tell you why she made both day and night. Shout out to Mayor Nico in the chat. What's going on, Mayor Nico? We are going to move on now to Seneca's letter number 5. I view with pleasure the approval. I view with pleasure and approval the way you keep on at your studies and sacrifice. I do not merely urge you to persevere in this. I actually implore you to. Let me give you, though, this one piece of advice. Refrain from following the example of those whose cravings is for attention, not for their own improvement. By doing certain things in a way which is calculated, you give rise to comment on your appearance or way of living generally. Avoid shabby attire, long hair, whoops, an unkempt beard, whoops, an outspoken dislike of silverware, sleeping on the ground, and other misguided means of self-advertisement. The very name of philosophy, how popular enough as it is. Imagine what the reaction would be if we started dissociating ourselves from the conventions of society. Inwardly, everything should be different, but the outward face should conform with the crowd. Our clothes should not be gaudy, yet they should not be dowdy either. We should not keep silver plate with inlays of solid gold, but at the same time, we should not imagine that doing without gold and silver is proof that we are leading a simple life. Let our aim be the way of life not diametrically opposed to, but better than that of the mob. Otherwise, we shall repel and alienate the very same people whose reform we desire. We shall make them, moreover, reluctant to imitate us in anything for fear they may imitate us in everything. The first thing philosophy promises us is the feeling of fellowship, of belonging to mankind, and being members of a community. Being different will mean the abandoning of the manifesto. We must watch the means by which we hope to gain admiration, as everyone knows, is to live in conformity with nature. It is quite the contrary to nature to torture one's body, to reject simple standards of cleanliness, and to make a point of being dirty, to adopt a diet that is just plain hideous and revolting, in the same way that craving for dainties in a token of extravagant living, avoidance of familiar and inexpensive simple living, not for doing penance, and the simple way of life. One's life should be comprised between the ideal and the popular morality. People should admire our way of life, but they should at the same time find it understandable. Does that mean that we are to act just like other people? Is there to be no distinction between us and them? Well, most certainly there is. Any close observer should be aware that we are different from the mob. Anyone entering our homes should admire a man that can treat his earthenware as if it were silver, and a man who treats his silver as if it were earthen is no less great. Finding wealth an intolerable burden is the mark of an unstable mind. Well, let me share with you the usual day's small find. Cease to hope, says Hecato, and you will cease to fear. But how, you will ask, can things as diverse as these be linked? Well, the fact is, Lucilius, that they are bound up with one another, unconnected as they may seem. Widely different as though they are, two of them march in unison like a prisoner, escorted as he is in handcuffs. Fear keeps pace with hope, nor does mind in suspense. To a mind in a state of anxiety, through looking into the future, both are mainly due to the projection of our thoughts far ahead of us instead of adapting ourselves to the present. Thus it is that foresight, the greatest blessing humanity has ever been given, is then transformed into a curse. Make them worry no more. We, however, are tormented alike by what is past and what is to come. A number of our blessings do us harm, for memory brings back the agony of fear, while foresight brings it to us prematurely. No one confines this unhappiness to the present. We're now moving on to Seneca's letter number 6. I see in myself, Lucilius, not just an improvement, but a transformation, although I would not venture as yet to assure you, or even to hope, that there is anything left in me needing to be changed. Naturally, there is a lot of things about me requiring to be built up or fined down or eliminated. Even this, the fact that it is perceived as failing, it was unaware of itself before. even this, the fact that it perceives the failings it was unaware of before, is evidence of a change for the better of one's character. In the case of some sick people, it is a matter of congratulations when they come to realize for themselves that they are sick. I should very much like, then, to share this all of this sudden metamorphosis of mine with you. Doing so would make me feel a surer faith in the friendship that exists between us, that true friendship, which not hope nor fear, that friendship for which people are ready to die. I can give you plenty of examples of people who have not been lacking a friend, but friendship. Something that can never happen when mutual inclination draws two personalities together in fellowship of desire for all that is honorable. Why cannot it happen? Because they know that everything, and especially their setbacks, is shared between them. You can't imagine how much of an alteration I see each day bringing about in me. Send me too, you will say, and the things you've found so effectual. Indeed, I desire to transfer every one of these things to you. Part of my joy in learning is that it puts me in a position to teach. Nothing, however, outstanding and however helpful will ever give me the pleasure of knowledge is to be for my own benefit alone. If wisdom were, there is no enjoying the possession of anything valuable unless someone else is there to share it with you. I shall send you accordingly the actual books themselves, passages likely to be of use to you. I shall mark the passages so that you can turn straight to the words that I approve and I admire. Personal of more benefit than any discourse. You should really be here on this spot, firstly, because people believe in their eyes rather than their ears, and secondly, because the road is a long one, and if it is perceived by the way of precipices, but short and ineffectual, if by way of personal example. All right. Would never have been the image of Zeno if he had merely heard him lecture. He lived with him, studied with him in his private life, watched him to see if he lived in accordance with his own personal principles. Plato, Aristotle, and a host of character then from his actual writings. It was not Epicurus' school, but living under the same roof as Epicurus that turned us into great men. And yet I do not summon you to my side solely for the sake of your own progress, but for mine as well. For allowance, I shall tell you what I took from the fan. Progress have I made? I am beginning to be my own friend. Unquote. That is progress indeed. Such a person will never be alone, and you may be sure he is a friend to all. What is going on, everybody? Appreciate the comments so far on Twitch. Hope everybody's having a great day. We are now moving on to Seneca's letter number 7. You asked me to say what should be considered and particularly important to avoid. My answer is this, yet without risk. I never come back home with quite the same moral character I went out with. Something or other becomes unsettling, where I had achieved internal peace. Some one or other of the things I had to put to flight reappear on the scene. We, who are recovering from a prolonged spiritual sickness, are in the same condition as invalids who have been affected to such an extent by prolonged indisposition that they cannot once be taken out of doors without ill effects. Associating with people in large numbers is actually harmful. There's not one of them that will not make some kind of vice or other attractive to us, or leave us carrying the imprint of one who bedoubled all unawareness with it. And inevitably, though, the larger the size of the crowd we mingle with, the greater the danger. But nothing is as ruinous to the character as sitting away one's time more than the usual ease. What do you take this to mean? That I go home more selfish, more self-seeking, more self-indulgent. Yes. And what is more, the person crueler and less humane, though, having been in contact with human beings. I happened to go to one of those shows at the time of the lunch hour interlude, expecting there to be some light and witty entertainment then. Some respite from the purpose of affording people's eyes a rest in comparison. The we have now is a murder pure and simple. What we have now is murder pure and simple. The combatants have nothing to protect them. Their whole bodies are exposed to the blows. Every thrust they launch gets home. A great many spectators prefer this to the ordinary matches, and even to the special, popular demand ones. And quite naturally, there are no helmets and no shields repelling the weapons. What is the point of the armor, or of skill? All of the sort of things that just make death slower in coming. In the morning, men are thrown to the lions and the bears, but it is the spectators that are thrown into the lunch hour. The spectators insist that each on killing his man shall be thrown against the other and killed in his truth. And the eventual victor is reserved. The only exit for the contestants is death. Fire and steel empty. But he was a highway robber, you might say. He killed a man. And what of it? I would respond. Granted, that is the murderer, he deserves this punishment. But what have you done, you wretched fellow, to deserve to watch it? In quotes, kill him, flog him, burn him. Why does he run at the other men's weapons in such a cowardly way? Why isn't he less half-hearted about killing? Why isn't he a bit more enthusiastic about dying? Whip him forward to get his wounds. Make them each offer with a bare breast and trade blow for blow. Throats cut in the meantime, so that there's something happening. Come now, I would respond. I shall have a way of recoiling on those who set them. Give thanks to the immortal gods, that the men to whom you are giving a lesson in cruelty are not in a position to profit off of it. When a mind is impressionable and has none too firm to hold on to what is right, it might be rescued from the crowd. It is so easy for me to go over the majority. Socrates, Cato, Aurelius, the measure of inability of any of us, even as we perfect our own personal adjustment, to withstand the onslaught of vices when they come for us in a mighty flowing. A single example of extravagance leads a pampered life, gradually makes one soft and flabby. A wealthy neighbor provokes cravings in one. A companion with a malicious nature tends to rub off some of his rust on others of an innocent and more open-minded nature. What then do you imagine the effects of a person's character when the assault comes? Imitate the world. But the right thing is to shun both courses. You should neither become like the bad because they are many, nor be the enemy of the many because they are unlike you. Retire yourself as much as you can. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those. Men learn as they teach. Abroad should your own work or deliver lectures. I should be glad to see you doing that if what you had to offer them was suitable to the crowd, such as I have been talking about. But the fact is, not a one of them is really capable of understanding you. You might perhaps come across one here and there, but even they would need to be trained and developed by you to a point where they could grasp your teachings. In quotes, whose benefit then did I learn it all? Well, if it were for your own benefit, then you would have. If it was for your own benefit that you learnt it, you have no call to fear that you have a trouble that it might have been wasted. Just to make sure that I have not been learning solely for my own benefit today, let me share with you 3 fine quotations I have come across of the usual debt so far as this letter is concerned. And the other 2 you are to regard as an advance on your account. To me, says Democritus, a single man is a crowd, and the crowd is a single man. Equally good is the answer given by the person whoever it was, who asked you when it would never have reached more than a very few simple people. Here is his reply. The third is a nice expression used by Epicurus in a letter to one of his colleagues, and it reads like this. I am writing this, he says, not for the eyes of many, but for yours alone, for each of us in this audience. Enough for the other. Lay these upon your heart, my dear Lucilius, that you might scorn the pleasure that comes from the majority's approval. The many speak highly of you. Understand, your merits should not be outward-facing. All right, that was the end of Seneca's letter number 7. We're moving on to Seneca's letter number 8, and I will put that in the next video. I appreciate all of you guys checking out this video, joining me for the live for a couple minutes here. And without further ado, we are going to end this live, and I will see you in the next one.